the midst of some people who have gotten beyond themselves and how they think about themselves and how they see themselves and how they view themselves being above other people, better than some other people. And Jesus, being Jesus, tells those people a story about somebody who saw themselves as being above somebody else. Now that's getting you told, amen? That's really getting you told, letting you see yourself, holding up a mirror so you can truly see yourself. Because we are called to live righteous lives. We're not called to be self-righteous. We're called to live righteous lives. We're not called to be self-righteous. Amen? And see, there's a challenge to consider yourself righteous while regarding others as contempt, or to see others with disdain, or to view others as less than. Because the moment you start to look down your nose at somebody, whatever righteousness you thought you had, dissipated. We're talking about living faith in the everyday. Now, can you truly live your faith in the everyday while you lifting yourself up to put other people down? See, sometimes that's why we can't reach certain individuals, certain families, or communities. It's because we've lifted ourselves up and we're putting other people down. Sometimes our attitudes, stereotypes, or even realities as we know them cause us to look upon certain people with disdain, disregard, or of having no redemptive qualities at all. We see how they measure up to ourselves or to others that we hold in the highest or lowest regard, and we base everything on what and who we know. In essence, we make ourselves the center of the universe by which everyone and everything will and can now be judged right or wrong, righteous or of the devil, if you will, faithful or foolish, my way or the highway. We make ourselves the center of the universe. And however we see it, that's how it's seen. And that's how everybody else ought to see it too. Amen? But here's the thing. People who know you. You can't fool them with your Bible reading or with your scripture quoting. In fact, they judge you by how consistent your actions and your words are. If your words speak of compassion, but your upper lip and your investments demonstrate a turned up nose, those who know you, know you. They're not impressed by how often you show up at Grace United Methodist Church. In fact, they wonder why you're even going. Or they wonder if we're over here condoning that foolishness. And so when you invite them to come, they're like, I ain't going over there. If they sending you back out week after week for you to cut up and clown the way you cut up and clown, why would I go over there? Oh, that's at the other church. That's not here. That doesn't happen here. So test this out. Talk about living your faith in the everyday. Go home, and whoever you left at home, they're going to be there when you get back. Or they'll get back after brunch. Amen? They'll be back after brunch. And when they get back after brunch, you invite them next week, and when they tell you no, say, could you tell me honestly why you said no? Even if it's about me and my witness, I really want to know your honest answer as to why your no is no. We're talking about living faith in the everyday. Now that's where the rubber meets the road. We could stop right there. Amen? Matter of fact, take your phones out. Call some people and invite them. Let's just do it right now. We don't have enough altar space for what would happen after we did all that. Amen? But typically, I'm going to move on. I'm better than that. Typically, we've heard this parable interpreted as a contrast between the self-righteous religious leader and the unworthy sinner, being the tax collector. And that interpretation fits perfectly with much of Jesus' ministry as he reached out to those who were excluded, marginalized, nameless, powerless, oppressed, and downright ignored. But here's the thing, beloved. We've lived long enough. We've seen enough history to know that even the oppressed will oppress some people. So just because you've been wronged, bullied, or overlooked does not give you license to wrong other people, to overlook other people, to dismiss or to disregard other people. Well, that's how they treated me, so I'm going to treat them the same way. That is not what you were called to do. That is not what you were called to be. On the flip side of that, even if you're held in high regard, that does not mean that your height is your license to look down on other people. But in first century Palestine, Jesus' contemporaries would know that Pharisees were pious and exemplary in their pursuit to follow the law. Now we're, a couple thousand years out from there, so we've reinterpreted the role of the Pharisee because we've been programmed to see them in a negative light because of the way the Gospels are written about them. However, within their given context, they were to be the upright, the righteous ones, who led the way and those who showed the way. So Jesus telling this parable that included a Pharisee would have been heard in a very particular way by those hearing Jesus name the Pharisees. They wouldn't have been thrown off by the fact that Jesus names the Pharisee as one who, boasted about what he had done for God. Because what he's naming that he had done for God and in the presence of God was the very thing that he was supposed to do. So he was naming that he had done what he was supposed to do. Now, he took it beyond that by naming, and I'm grateful I'm not like him and her and them and those people over there. And you know what she did. And you know that one right there. Oh, and these back here, don't even get me started on them. See, we take it too far. See, and so that's what Jesus is pointing out. But those hearing it would have known that the Pharisees were committed to live faithfully. They were respected in contrast to others in their society in positions of leadership who would collude with the Roman authorities and take advantage of the people or those who would use their positional power to overpower others. Now, the tax collectors were generally known and treated as colluders as they often took advantage of the weak for their own personal gain. In this parable, just like the others, Jesus interjects along the way. We have this teaching here from Dr. Amy Jo Levine. She writes that perhaps the Jews who first heard this parable understood the Pharisees' merit positively to have impacted the tax collector. This would be the parable's shock, not only that the agent of Rome is justified, but that the Pharisees' own good works helped in the justification of the tax collector. So just as the sin of taking advantage of one's neighbor breaks community, efforts to live faithfully and witness to the grace of God restores community. And what a challenge for the hearers of the parable who regard others with contempt. Think about hearing this parable. Think about being someone who looks down on other people, even for the smallest of things. And you hear Jesus share this parable. All efforts to embody and live God's love and grace can miraculously build relationships. every effort, all efforts to embody and live God's love and grace can miraculously build relationships. But 3 things we have to do is we have to be honest about who we are. Have to be honest about who we are. Not putting on a front, a fake face, trying to make fake friends, for all kinds of fake reasons. But we have to be honest about who we are. And we have to be willing to look inside and honor who we are. See, some of us are honest about who we are, but we don't honor who we are. And when we don't honor who we are, we're dismissing God's creation. Remember, you were created and crafted in God's own image, and everything that God created, the Word says that God looked upon it and deemed it good. So who made you? God. And God made you in whose image? His, hers, theirs. Thank you. See, y'all got Earl some water, and now his theology is right. Still, your water got his theology together. Thank you, Earl. Thank you. Earl's been listening and learning. Amen. We're created in God's own image. And everything that God created, God looked upon it and deemed it good. And so that makes you good. So we have to be honest about who we are. We have to be willing to look inside and honor who we are. And we have to be open to discovering that we are always evolving. Always evolving. If you feel like you've learned everything that you're supposed to learn, you've done everything you're supposed to do, heaven help you. Because it's time for you to go. You taking up air. You wasting good air. We got these babies who need that air. They need that energy that you wasted up. All these other good resources. If you've done it all, you've done everything you were purposed to do. Go up there to Inglewood Park and lay down. Like, if you still here, beloved, as long, I said, as long as there is breath in your body, God is not through with you. You are forever evolving so that you can accomplish what God has called and created you to do. Doesn't matter what the doctors say, it doesn't matter when they say it, until God says it, and until God is done, you got to keep on moving, you got to keep on changing, you got to keep on learning, moving along with God's program. And if we are always evolving and we're willing to offer that grace and understanding to ourselves and about ourselves, we have to do the same for others. Especially the ones we may have given up on, or those who may have given up on us. We have to extend that same grace to them. Because see, when you find your footing with God, whether it's up close and personal, and you know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, or you find yourself aware of the work that is yet to be completed in your soul, but you're clear you have to stand somewhere in the presence of God. And you know you can't hide. You know you can't get away from the love of God. You know you can't do anything to banish God from your life. Now, God may not be in your routine or in your daily consciousness, but God is in your life. And the question is, and always shall be, are you in the life that God desires for you? Amen. And wherever and whenever you find yourself in the presence of God, aware that the very breath you breathe is from God, aware that the clothes you wear are from God, aware that the house you live in is of God, aware that the car that you drive is God's car, aware that the job that you love to hate is God's job, aware that the spouse you have, or the one you want, or even the one you got rid of, amen, it's God's person. Wherever and whenever you find yourself in the face of God, or in a space where you cannot face God, beloved, you have to stand your ground with the faith that's already within you. Because Jesus said all you need is faith the size church or whatever, wherever it is we look, amen. We look everywhere except in ourselves and draw some unjust, unrealistic, unrighteous comparisons based on somebody else's existence and somebody else's experiences instead of looking at your own, realizing that you may not be all that you want to be, but you can be grateful that you're not what you used to be. You can look and see that the faith that you need is already within you to do what God has called you to do and to be right now. Too many of us are sitting around waiting for more faith, and we haven't even used the little faith that we already got. The faith you need for the situation you're in is the faith you already got. That test came to you, that trial came to you, so you can use the faith that you have. And maybe it's just like any other muscle. You got to work that thing out for it to strengthen. You got to work that thing out for it to grow. If you just let it sit there, it's just going to dissipate over time. Your faith is the same way. It'll get lessen and lessen over time. And we'll be sitting here waiting for your golden great invitations to your pity party when all you had to do was exercise the faith that you had. We spend too much time looking at what other people are doing when we're called to just stand our ground, stand on the ground that God has gifted us to stand upon with the faith that we have in this moment, in this space where we find ourselves. Now my grandma could sit there and look all holy and sanctified and go home because she was old. She had lived a long time. She had done her dirt long before I was born. I heard them stories about how she used to fight. They say she kept a blade on her too. Wasn't to be messed with. Wasn't to be messed with. Yeah. Yeah. Why do you think she was the one that made the communion wine? She didn't learn that at Vacation Bible School, I'm sure. See, so but I named that because, I mean, we sit and we look at what other people are doing. See, oftentimes we look at this parable, we take it like from up to down, but sometimes the down to up is just as destructive as the up to down. You with me? Right? Because we sit and we look and we judge where a person is, or we see what we believe their faith to be, and we do all that without even knowing what the journey was about. Right? We're looking at the glory and don't know anything about the story. Like nothing about it whatsoever. We're just sitting there waiting for our change to come, but we ain't willing to change nothing. Amen? We just sitting there waiting for our change to come, waiting for something to happen, but we're not trying to make anything happen with the faith that God has already given us. Right? Yes. Yes. So you got to stand firm. Stand firm. Stand your ground. Stand on that faith ground. Yours might not look like mine. Mine might not look like yours. But you got to stand in it. Amen? Amen. Some would say to stand your ground when you know that you're living righteously. They would say stand your ground when you know you've stood the test of time and that you will not be moved, that you're like that tree that's planted by the living waters. Amen? Some would say stand your ground when you look to the hills from which cometh all your help, because you know that your help comes from the Lord. Some would say stand your ground when you come to a better understanding of how you were raised, and you know at some point you have to give people who didn't know or didn't do better by you. Amen? Sometimes you have to stand your ground when you know you have to get a prayer through and that no one can help you except the Lord. You have to stand your ground when you trust that God will make a way out of no way, the same way God has done time and time again. And in our attempts and commitments to living our faith in the everyday, we must be honest about who we are. We have to be willing to look inside and honor who we are. We have to be open to discovering that we are always evolving. And we must honor each other's experience. Honor each other's encouragement. And yes, honor each other's critique. Because you not beyond reproach, beloved. And we have to keep service of the world central. The reason for us to look inside and to be honest about who we are, to honor who we are, to be open to the reality that we're always evolving, is so that we can be in service to the world. This Christian journey is not about us. It involves us, but it's not about us. And we have to be honest about who we are. Honor who we are. And open to the reality that we're evolving so that we can serve the world. Yesterday I was driving and I saw this billboard, and it has just messed with me. Driving along in this godforsaken part of California, and I don't mean Barstow. It's Barstow's cousin. It's the other way. It's the other way. But I'm driving along and I'm thinking about all that's going on in the world, all that's troubling my heart and my mind. And I'm getting worked up as I'm thinking about it, and I'm hearing the news on the radio, thinking about our world leaders and just the wars and the rumors of war, and I'm thinking about the economy and just this income inequality. I'm getting text messages from a niece or a nephew, somebody, talking about, hey, can you loan me $200? I got all that. Oh, y'all don't get those text messages? I ignored it. I was like, I don't even know who that is. I might not even be the uncle they reaching out to because they didn't use my name. And their name wasn't in my phone. So the nieces and nephews I deal with in my phone. The ones who check on me in my phone. The ones I check on are in my phone. So I don't know who was calling their uncle yesterday, texting their uncle and needing $200 to pay their bills. I don't know who that was. I don't know. But I said a little prayer, whatever and ever, stay in my heart, yeah. I said a little prayer for you and your $200 as I drove on. Yes, I did. So, and they had nerve enough to send it again this morning. Like, are you going to be able to loan me my $200? First off, if I'm loaning you $200, it's my $200. It ain't your $200. See, so you let me know something about yourself, then that means that wasn't a loan, that was a gimme, because when I let you have it, you gonna keep it. So again, my name wasn't on it, so I don't know who's on they trying to reach out to. So the $200 are still wherever the $200 are. I digress. I'm driving along. I am 49 years old. I have never asked one of my uncles for $200. Never. I wouldn't even know I was. One, I wouldn't text it. That's one. So that's the first thing. I wouldn't text it. But even, back whatever it was we would have done, whatever, that would have. But seriously, in my mind. And I'm getting worked up over it. And then I slip in this place of judgment. Of like, who do you think you are? What's so wrong with your world that you don't have $200? That you couldn't pick up the phone and call somebody? And if it's that big of an emergency, why wouldn't you pick up the phone? Because they know I travel all over. I might not even be in the country. So I might not even see this text message for weeks. I mean, so like, what is this? So I'm in this space. And so I got that, and then I got, Boris Johnson and his foolishness with the Brexit thing. Is like they done voted to leave. You said you wanted to go. You said you was going to get them out. Then I gave you a deal. Now just go. Go do your thing. Knock it out. This whole Turkey with the Syria thing, and then whatever 45 is doing, with whatever 45 is doing with it, all that. Like all this is going on, like in my mind, and I find myself going to this very high and mighty judgmental space. Where I'm asking what's wrong with them. And as I'm driving along, all this is going on, and I look up and I see this billboard. It's purple and white. And it reads, "Join in the fight for Alzheimer's first survivor." For Alzheimer's first survivor. Snap me right off my judgment seat into an humble place of repenting, but also into a place of reflecting. Of like, that's a call right there. That's a challenge right there. That's something I can do something with. You with me? Yeah. If I stay in my head space and I stay judgmental about what the world leaders are or are not doing, or I stay in this space about my niece or my nephew or whoever that is, or somebody's a next niece or nephew who texts me, if I stay in that space, I miss the call to serve. And it may not seem like that much to you, but it was the clarity that I needed that let me see that all the contempt that I was holding for the Pharisee that I had slid right on over into that space. But when I saw that billboard, join in the fight, Alzheimer's first survivor. Had to pray that prayer that the tax collector prayed in this parable. Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner. And whenever we find ourselves in spaces and places where we cannot or where we will not humble ourselves to the point of praying that prayer, we're in trouble. But when we find ourselves in spaces and places where we know we have to always begin with and end with that prayer, then we're heeding to the words of Jesus, which cautions us that those who exalt themselves will be humbled, that those who humble themselves will be exalted. And I don't know what calls you back to reality. I don't know what calls you to service. I know all of us have things in our lives, and sometimes it seems overwhelming. It's like, I can't help nobody. With all I got going, I can't help anybody. I don't have any money. My body's breaking down. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know if I'm going left or right, if I'm inside, if I'm outside. I don't know what's going on. I just don't know. I get that. But here's a challenge. Pray that prayer first. Lord, have mercy on me. And open yourself up to see what God has to say about it. Because you're real clear about where you are. You're very clear about your stuck places. But pray that prayer, Lord, have